My husband flushed our wedding rings down the toilet after I asked him to open our relationship. While I was getting my psychology degree, I studied different theories about sexual behavior and how we could explain its diverse manifestations, especially the ones which aren't considered socially appropriate. What we consider as a standard romantic and divided by or sexual relationship is quite different from 50 years ago, 100 years ago, and so on. An example of that dynamic is how, in the 1920 seconds and even a few decades later, we wouldn't even consider romance and sex as separate things because it was expected of you in most parts of the world to only develop your sexual interests after you got married, and only to that person. The only type of sexual encounters outside of the marriage sphere was with sex workers, affairs, illegitimate relationships, and sometimes all of them at the same time. Today, you can easily have only a sexual relationship with a person without being marginalized by society or considered a degenerate. Some would say that is now the pattern of dating, also known as the hookup culture, motivated by dating apps where you can easily find a sexual partner, but can also be ironically a little difficult to find a romantic one there. All of this information dumping seems random on a Reddit post, but you'll soon understand why this topic has returned to my attention and thoughts. Either way, my point is how much romantic and sexual dynamics change over the decades. Things which were once considered transgressive are now even normal to talk about in a work environment, for example. Would you stop interacting with a coworker who mentioned being on Tinder during a regular Monday conversation? I'd say you probably wouldn't, because in our time, looking for casual partners isn't a different or rare behavior. 20 years from now, what kind of sexual or romantic behavior will be normalized into our society? Could it be something considered absurd in our present? I recently went through a rough discussion about these topics with my husband. I suggested something he didn't react well to, and it created a weird atmosphere in our relationship. I decided to bring my situation to Reddit as a kind of survey. Generally, people have extremely diverging opinions about subjects such as this, and I wanted to get different perspectives of my situation. My name is Alara. I'm a 27-year-old psychologist, and I'm married to Silas. He's 29 and works with statistics. He's actually very in love with them, for some reason. He has a very methodic and cautious personality. We've been together for 4 happy years and married for 2 of those. We have very different yet complementing personalities. I love that about us. Before we met, Silas was in an 8-year-long relationship with his high school sweetheart. This one takes the award for most traumatizing event of his life. On the proposal day, he went to their house during his working hours to organize their date. His plan was to recreate the night they first met, which was at a school camp, so he'd decorate their backyard and pop the question. When Silas got home, he found his girlfriend in bed with one of his best friends. That day, he found out that very often a certain guest came to their house during his working hours. Silas was completely oblivious about it. It only took one romantic plan to get him out of his routine and find out about the affair. He was single for 2 years, having his hope and love completely lost until he met me. At the time, he started working with a close friend of mine, so we ran into each other frequently in bars, birthdays, and other parties. I was the one who asked him out. I fell for Silas because he has a nerdy personality that makes it clear that he's smart, but he was always shy about showing people how smart he actually is, which makes him even hotter. The outdoor activities we all knew he was into made me fall even harder. He wasn't just a statistics expert who doesn't see the daylight. He had hobbies and a social life. How perfect could he be? We started dating, and I held back my feelings. It was clear Silas was hesitant about emotional connections after his ex. We followed his natural pace and eventually realized we were both head over heels with each other. He was scared about showing his feelings and being romantic, but the more I showed him how much I appreciated his gestures, the more he did it, and thank God, he never stopped. One of our mutual interests is camping and nature in general. We both loved doing it apart, so when we got together, it was the perfect match. One day, we walked to the top of a hill to watch a meteor shower together. It was one of the most beautiful things I had ever witnessed. That night, he proposed to me, and I realized Silas was the one I definitely wanted to spend the rest of my life with. My marriage with Silas is a blessing in my life. He treats me better than I could ever expect or imagine. Every single day, he finds a way to remind me I'm loved. I try my best to do the same to Silas, but he is amazingly better at it than me. He knows me in a way no one does. I could genuinely say, Silas is my soulmate. Before we met, I expected to get married after my 30 seconds, which seemed like the perfect age for it, the perfect moment to settle down after having great experiences in my 20 seconds. I was 23 when we started dating. Since then, he is the only person in my life and is set to be the only one for the rest of my life. I started feeling curious about things I could be experiencing. I love being with Silas in all the ways possible. I would never do anything behind his back to hurt him. Ever since we started dating, we promised to be honest with each other about absolutely everything. We only got through our toughest crisis because we were brutally honest to each other. That way, we were able to rethink our actions and adjust them. We always made sure to maintain the safe space for honesty, especially if they are things a couple hides from one another. I sort of felt the need to share these feelings with my husband. One night, we were having dinner at home, and I asked if we could talk. I started with the subjects I studied and mentioned in the beginning of this post. We followed a traditional model of relationship. Were we traditional people? We were at the end of our 20 seconds, behaving in our marriage like our grandparents would want us to, something they didn't achieve themselves and just lied about it. Which finally brings me to one of the ongoing debates about dating culture: non-monogamy and open relationships. In this point of view, sex and love aren't codependent or related at all, actually. They are related when you're with your partner, but not with other sexual partners who you only get involved with for sexual purposes or anything according to the rules you previously established with your partner. Couples tried a lot, failed, some succeeded, and combined two lives together and even improved their relationship. People usually choose this type of relationship to adventure with others while still loving their partner. Is it consensual cheating? Is it cheating if it's consensual from all parties? Could it ruin a marriage? Could it save one? There were many questions I intended to share with Silas. I was hoping he'd be open to talk about it with me. His reaction was definitely unexpected. We talked about many different things which we knew our friends tried or stories we heard about other people. I asked if he felt curious to try any of those we discussed. He stopped for a second and started thinking like he had never thought about it before. I guess if I was single, eventually I would have tried, but I prefer what we have in our life much more. He had a good answer. I said I also preferred what we had, but I sometimes felt curious about other things. He reacted naturally and asked me about what I was curious about, so I said I had thought about trying an open relationship. He frowned, didn't say anything, but there was a creeped-out reaction on his face. I don't know if it can actually work out for us, but it's something some couples our age do. It seems interesting and fun. I kind of lost my speech once he started staring at me like I had suggested we committed a crime. He repeatedly asked me if I was serious. When I said I actually was, he just seemed shocked. This talk happened yesterday. I'm trying my best to remember exactly what we said, but it went kind of like this. Why would you want to open our relationship? Aren't you satisfied with me? Is there anything I can do better? He asked, a little upset. I reassured him there wasn't anything wrong with our relationship, that I loved him very much, and this is just an adventure we could try. Look, we're still young. We'll spend the rest of our lives together comfortably, which is amazing because there's no one I'd rather spend the rest of my life with. While we wait for that stage, we can try new things we haven't done in our past relationship. I honestly felt what I was saying. Silas said being cheated on is something he had tried in his last relationship, and he didn't feel like doing it again. I guess this subject can trigger what he's been through, but in my point of view, it couldn't be the same thing. His ex-girlfriend lied to him, went behind his back, had an affair with someone very close to him, and while all of that happened, she never showed any discontent with how her relationship with Silas was. It's like she was fulfilling a sick fantasy of being with two people at the same time in secret. I had a small curiosity about what was out there. I loved being married, but I had the feeling I settled down early and lost experiences somehow important or just fun to have in your 20 seconds. Finding out we as a society practice monogamy only as a social convention, because when we settled it is necessary for our lives, it was simply about how convenient it could be to the political context of the time. The concepts we have of marriage and monogamy are old. When they were settled, it was mainly used to make women keep it in their pants while their husbands were out in brothels. All of that made me realize I hadn't been studying human behavior to reproduce senseless social standards. Even so, If it turned out to be a big mess being with other people, I'd have no problem coming back to my traditional monogamous marriage with the man I love the most. I explained these things to Silas, but he didn't receive them very well. Alara, we made vows to each other. We decided to start a life, with only the two of us. I understand all of your historical and psychological analysis, but an open relationship, it's too much. And definitely not what we signed up for when we decided to do this. He finished talking, taking my hand and pointing at the golden ring on it. I asked if he ever felt attracted to someone else after we got married, because I wouldn't be upset if he did. He looked at me, then he looked at the floor, then at my hands and said, "You know what?" He pulled the ring off my finger, then proceeded to take his ring off his finger. "Is this what you want?" He stood up while holding and showing me our rings. "If you think marriage and monogamy are so oppressive and stopping you from liberating yourself as a woman, fine. Got your message." He walked out of the kitchen, taking our rings with him. I followed him and tried to tell him that wasn't what I meant. Silas never acts this way. He never freaks out and starts yelling just to make a point. I wasn't used to seeing him like that. "I'm not acting crazy," he answered after I asked him why he was acting crazy. "You want an open relationship. You want to sleep with other people and come home to tell me about it. You want to enjoy your good years with strangers while your husband sits at home wondering when will it be enough for you. If that's your wish, then fine." He opened the bathroom's door, raised the toilet's lid, and when I realized what he was doing, I started yelling for him to stop. In 2 seconds, the rings were thrown in the water, and while I tried to stop him, he flushed it as if they were nothing. I stood there, staring at Silas in shock. "So, you're not acting crazy, I see." He let go a deep breath while listening to what I said, then told me I had what I wished for now. Now I could go live my life. What hurt me the most was him saying I still had time to find a jerk who would accept the crazy lifestyle I was suggesting. Maybe there's still time for you to propose to your ex. She'll pretend to only be with you, lie, and go behind your back. But at least you'll be living your perfect monogamy and being oblivious about it. I admit I only said that because he made me upset. Silas turned to me with a death look on his face and walked away until I heard our front door closing and a little violent sound. It has been 2 days since our fight. Silas is staying with a friend and refuses to talk to me. I called, I texted, I emailed him, I called his mother, and everything else I could do. I'm giving him the time he needs, but I have no idea if it was just the heat of the moment or if he'll actually want to get separated. I intend to apologize and tell him it was just a crazy idea. How do I make him forgive me? Do you think he'll still want to be with me? I have no idea what to do. Thanks for the attention, Reddit. I'll get back to you as soon as I have updates. Update. Hello, Reddit. I'm back with updates about the story of my husband flushing our wedding rings down the toilet after I suggested the idea we opened our relationship. Reading your comments and advice cleared my ideas. Some of them helped me to understand the situation better, so I'll share them with you. I should have considered this matter before marrying Silas. Many of you said that I was very young when we started dating. If I wanted to have other experiences, I should have considered this wish before proceeding with the wedding plans. I admit it seems hurtful, suggesting the idea of an open relationship when I agreed to marry him not long ago. I guess I was so silly with love at the time, couldn't actually think about other people. I read comments saying that maybe if I was desiring other people, there could be something I wasn't getting with Silas, which could be sexual or even emotional. I think getting used to married life involves accepting that your relationship will be completely different from the first months. In the beginning, I was 23, in love, and passionate about my boyfriend. When we decided to get married, those feelings returned, and they lasted until our first year of marriage. Of course, I still loved Silas, but there weren't any butterflies in my stomach anymore, which is something normal. I always knew that. Some of you said I was scared of our relationship getting caught in a rut. Therefore, I proposed the most extreme solution when there are other kinds of more comfortable adventures we could do together other than an open relationship. I guess I got involved in the idea. You were probably right when saying the idea of an open relationship is better than reality. At the end of the day, I would be spending great and fun moments with strangers when I could be doing the same with my husband. I sent a few texts to Silas, which he took a whole week to reply to. I wanted to give him the space he needed. During our relationship, He always said that when he wants space, he actually needs it to figure things out, and he wished I respected his time. That's what I'm trying to do, but I really don't understand why he is so mad. I want him to see and understand that when I brought up the idea, I didn't mean I desperately needed an open relationship or else I would do terrible things to myself. It's not having an open relationship or divorce, in case he doesn't agree. I just wanted to discuss it with him, see his opinion, think and reflect if it would work out in our lives. If Silas doesn't want an open relationship, then we won't have one. This isn't a decision I can make alone. If he isn't willing to, then I don't want to sacrifice our loving relationship because of a stupid idea I had while reading about it. We are in the beginning of our relationship. We still have a lot to go through together. I've seen couples opening their relationship in their 50 seconds or 60 seconds. I guess it gets boring at that time of life. Silas and I are young. We don't even have kids, and we have a great future ahead of us. I guess the idea of a traditional marriage freaked me out, but now that I don't have my husband around, I realize how much I miss it. A week and a few days after our fight, he finally replied to my texts. He didn't give me much on how things were and what he was feeling, but at least there was a sign of contact showing he was alive. Here's what he said. Hey, Alara. You probably know I've been staying with Matt. I still need time to think before we talk. I'm still upset about our fight and don't know exactly how to feel about it. I still need some time. Please understand. Thank you for your patience. Bye, Alara. As I said, he didn't give me much, but I was glad to know he's alive. At this point, I could have showed up at his work, his parents' house, and even at Matt's, but I wanted to be respectful. I don't think I should be desperate about it because it's probably just a silly fight we're having and forgetting about it in 6 months, so I hope. Last Friday night, I heard our front door getting unlocked. Silas was home. I was in the living room, standing in shock. He seemed surprised when he noticed me there, even though we live there together. He took a deep breath seeing me, and said he needed to get some clothes but he'd be out soon. I tried talking to him while he took his clothes out of the closet and put them very well folded and organized in his bag. He was clearly trying to get it over with so that he could leave as soon as possible. Silas answered all my questions vaguely. Every time he looked at me, he turned his face around as if it was something he shouldn't be watching. That felt horrible. My own husband didn't want to look at me. I wanted to break down in tears in front of him, but I needed to be strong. He got everything he needed and almost left, running to his car. When he crossed the living room, I asked if he was ever coming back. He just answered, "I'll try." Update. Hello again. It's been 2 weeks since my last update, and a lot of things have happened. I'll break it down to you, and remember, opinions are appreciated. Maybe one thing that can come out of this mess is a research theme about romantic and sexual behavior, but Silas definitely wouldn't agree on being the subject of study. A few days after Silas showed up at home, I got a call from Matt's girlfriend, the friend Silas has been staying with. She mentioned they went out together with some other friends. When they asked him where I was, he simply explained our fight to them, word by word. The subjects I mentioned, the infamous open relationship, the question I made him, the moment he flushed our wedding rings, and even what I said to him about his ex. He talked about absolutely everything. He outed us to all of his friends. She even said it didn't sound like Silas at all, which I agreed with, because he was always discreet about our business. I guess for some reason, he didn't have anything to hide anymore. I felt betrayed, and he was out there talking about me as if I had betrayed him, when I simply suggested something that didn't even happen. I swear to God, hearing open relationship being said gives me a headache. If I knew it would be this psychological hell, I would have never even mentioned it. She also said he doesn't know if he wants to get divorced, but according to his words, he can't stand to look at me anymore. You can't even imagine how delightful it was to hear that. After she hung up, I immediately picked up my phone and texted him. I don't understand what is happening to you. You never acted like this. Why can't you just talk to me about what you feel, instead of spreading our business to all of your friends? I don't care about your space anymore. If you don't come home today and talk about it with me, I'll call my lawyer tomorrow so we can start our divorce. You're my husband. You have to talk to me and can't just walk away when I don't act the way you expect me to. I sent it. He saw it immediately, but he never showed up. I waited up all night, crying. I even expected him the next day. Silas didn't show up then, and also the rest of the week. He didn't even reply to my text. I waited days for him, but he never showed up. So I had to do what I threatened to, but didn't actually think I'd have to use it. The divorce papers are getting here any day now, and guess what? No news from Silas. I don't think I had ever felt a greater pain, especially knowing he's doing it on purpose. He could come here, call me, and say he'd rather die than still be married to me. Instead, he decided to say nothing and abandon me. He broke my heart, but only because I broke his, so I don't know exactly what to feel. Be careful with what you talk about with your significant other. I guess you should learn from my mistake and not suggest things they might be extremely triggered by. I didn't know he was going to react this way, learned something new about him, and we're just about to get a divorce. How ironic. Thanks for following my story, Reddit. Things didn't turn out well, but I guess you're used to that.